everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Move with the Caravan Sports Preview Show. I'm Chris Miller. I'm here with Jim Powers as always. Jim, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Survived 48 hours of basketball this past weekend out at Mizzou Arena, and I tell you what, and you saw the picture of me and Coach Stewart. He was there for a lot this year. This is probably one of the over the last bunch of years the most that I've seen Norm at the games, and it was just so cool to see him and visit with them. Hear some more stories that we always talk about. So it was a lot of fun, but just really tired when we got back home on Saturday
All right.
afternoon.
Yeah, I think I tried to get a hold of you Sunday, and you're just like, dude, I'm sleeping.
Phone off. I'm out. See you next week. Bye.
Right, right. So talk about some of those games that you saw and some of the things you saw up there.
Some great talent. The local teams fared, pretty well that played out there. Had a chance to see Park Hill Central up close and personal for the first time. The best game of the weekend was probably Cardinal Ritter in the triple overtime slugfest with New Madrid. Just so there's so much talent in the state of Missouri that's unbelievable. I'm just not talking Class 6 talent. I'm talking, all the way down the line. And it was just so much fun to see those kids, play on the big floor, because some of those kids will never get an opportunity to play on a big floor like Mizzou Arena and Norm Stewart Court. But the biggest thing too is just the cause. Coaches versus Cancer, something that Norm started many years ago, and all the proceeds go to that, and to see the check presentations from a lot of the different schools and all that stuff that we're going to the American Cancer Society, and all that money it stays here, which is really cool. But game wise, Ritter and New Madrid didn't disappoint. On Friday it was Ladies' Day. Saw some great, saw all of our local teams win on Saturday. Lutheran South, our good friend Ben Elick, did a terrific job against a very talented Southern Boone team. Then Vashon took care of their business against the defending Class 6A champions down in Arkansas, North Little Rock. And Lutheran St. Charles looked really good. Aaron's got a great group of kids and an outstanding big inside that's going to Tennessee Tech next year. So, the ladies really came out and showed off what they do. And then Chaminade on Saturday, wow. Nevion Daniels is showing me that he may be one of the best pure shooters in the area right now. They had a quick turnaround. They played CBC on Friday night and lost, and he put 22 up. And then he turned around and put 25 up on Saturday against a really good Columbia Hickman team. And then East St. Louis took care of their business. CBC played later on in the afternoon, and they played a really tough Kickapoo team, and Kickapoo's going to be really good. They're going to be a team that a lot of people there keep their eyes on, later on, in the season and all that. But I think just the talent level in the state of Missouri that I had a chance to see was terrific.
And just from looking at the scores and the box scores and then getting a chance to see some of these games, streaming or just picking it up, and kind of being a person who follows it for state ranking purposes with the Coaches Association, when you get to those higher classes like 5 and 6, there's not a lot of separation here and there between the good teams and the great teams and then the average teams, it seems like, except for some of these really talented players that they have that can take them to the next level.
No, you're exactly right. And I'm going to tell you, I think there's even more parity in the lower classes this year. When it comes to the Coaches Association polls and what we're going to see once we hit district play and later on in February. It's just, once again, we're seeing kids that are getting after it. And I still say, now that we're kind of COVID's in the back seat, those kids still realize that sports can be taken away in an absolute hot minute. And I think the kids are putting in the work, and they're showing what they can do and how they can do it. And that's been a terrific thing to watch. We saw it during football, and I think basketball this year is just going to be the same way. But you're exactly right. I think the upper classes, I don't think there's a lot of separation. I can't wait to see Staley. They're playing, I believe, in the William Joel tournament next week. and I'm going to try and watch a little bit of them. But Chris Neff has just got a great group, and for anybody that remembers, Chris Neff actually coached with Jay Blossom at Webster for a little while, and then moved out to Kansas City. And he's just got a terrific bunch. You got a Kickapoo team that's really, really good. So I think the parity around the whole state is just going to be unbelievable to follow this year.
Absolutely. And this time of year, since a lot of schools are on break now, but basketball is not really on break because there's all kinds of holiday tournaments that are happening all over the state, and I love it. Absolutely love it. My family hates it because I'm always gone, but I love it.
Oh, without a doubt. And my better half, she knows that the week between Christmas and New Year's, she's not going to see me very much. Because I'll either be bouncing from Viz over to MICDS this year with Coaches versus Cancer at Maryville. You've got 3 tournaments in a 5-mile radius this year, which for the basketball junkie and me and Earl Austin Jr. and some of the others, now it turns into it's hard to figure out who to go watch and when you want to go watch because there's so many different things. And now with the 3 of them right in a little circle, okay, we can start here. We can start there. In fact, I was just talking to Earl, and we're kind of figuring out where we were going to go, where we were going to cross paths next week.
Yeah, and being the fact it's only 5 miles apart, it makes it a lot easier if you just want to kind of, I want to go watch this one. I want to go watch this one. And you kind of plan your day around the tournament bracket a little bit, and that makes it fun. That makes it fun this time of year for fans, for basketball junkies like yourself, like my dad, who's going to go to 1,000 games between the Bloomfield tournament and he might be at the Kabul tournament. He might go to Park Hills. He's going to be all over the place. Southeast Missouri tournament, and and even the ones all over. They're all great tournaments. Blue and Gold's going on pretty soon. So some really good ones. Let's jump in and talk about, and I've just mentioned it, the Park Hills Christmas tournament. Jim, what do you think about this setup?
Yeah, it's one of the great tournaments, in a terrific facility. I love the facility down at Park Hills Central. After seeing them play last week, or this past weekend, I now know why they're the top seed. They deserve it. They've got a great, duel out front with their guards. They've got a nice big. But I'm going to tell you, it's a wide open tournament, I think. When you look at the seedings and you look at where everybody's, been placed out and all that stuff, Central's the favorite, but I don't think they're a big favorite. I don't think this is going to be a walkover. I think somebody can spring a few upsets here and there. And I'm going to tell you right now, watch what Coach Jarvis is going to have going with Herky. They're an 8th seed, but if those kids play the way that I think Jason knows how they can play and what we've seen, they could spring one of those early round upsets pretty doggone easily. So, that's just one example, but you've got some great teams that are playing in that year in and year out. They get after it. And that tournament is so much fun to watch. And especially, finishing up when they do, normally they're the last tournament to finish up because everybody else is kind of done. But with MICDS kind of shifting things a little bit, now you're still playing. Yeah, you got them and Park Hills finishing up on the same night. So, but it's a great tournament, great tradition. A lot of great kids have played in that tournament that we've seen on the collegiate level. So this year is going to be a lot of fun at Deep Field. And I'm telling you, just don't give that trophy just yet to Central because I think somebody could come out of the woodwork.
And speaking from a guy who's played in that tournament, won that tournament, it is one of the best tournaments in the atmosphere to play in. The field house there at Park Hills is great. It's hard. It's tough to beat them there on their home court. Let me just tell you. And they do have the advantage
without a doubt.
The home
cooking's there. Without a doubt. If you get them in a semi or a final, it's going to be a packed house, and because that's how Park Hills. That's their fan base, and it's going to be a terrific environment for these kids to play in, and that just is a big piece of it. Is the typical everyday basketball person. They may not have a dog in the fight, but guess what? They're still going to watch some great basketball just to see some of the terrific talent. And yeah, absolutely, the atmosphere in that field house is just unreal.
It is amazing, and I'm with you. I think Herculaneum at the 8, they got a shot to do something against Park Hills. I know Coach Jarvis was talking about wanting that opportunity, and even Coach Jarvis has talked about how tough his game is going to be with North County with Dan Johnson coming in there. And I think that from watching film with North County, that they're kind of turning the corner. One of my dark horses kind of in this is St. Genevieve's been playing really well. I think they've only lost one game, and they're the 5th seed. And Potosi, who's the 7th seed, has only lost one game. So there's going to be a collision course in the quarters and the semis that could really impact that tournament.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's going to be the fun part about it is, okay, you get through the first round. If your seeds hold, then those quarterfinal matchups are going to be terrific. I love what Dan's doing down at North County. A lot of people a little surprised he took that job. But he's already got those kids believing and buying into his system. And he's got a terrific system. So you got to be wary of them, and then absolutely you look up and down. That schedule. You got great coaches, you got great kids, and that's just going to make it for a whole heck of a lot of fun next week with that tournament.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And let's go ahead and just drive up north and look at the Don Maurer Holiday Invitational MICDS. Another stacked tournament, Jim. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, the Rams will come in number 1. They lost a heartbreaker earlier this week to the Junior Bills, 58 to 56. But they're still talented, and when you got a kid like Winston Moore on the court that can just do a lot of great things, we saw what he did on the football field, but now you get to see him on the basketball court. But then you look Ladue, Chad Anderson's got a great group coming back. This is a team that's been on the cusp for maybe the last 3-4 years, and this may be the breakout year for them. And then you look at the 3 seed Kirkwood, Sam Briscoe. How about coming in and just making an impact immediately? And I thought when he got hired at Kirkwood, I knew what they were going to get. I've known Sam for years. As a player at Deshaun, played for Wade. Then took his talents to the next level, and then had a chance to coach under Steve Hesser and our other good buddy, Chris down at Drury. And bringing that back home and bringing those types of things with him, and he's got those Kirkwood kids believing. And for them to get the 3 seed in this tournament, that's a pretty big statement that the Pioneers basketball team is back. Then you look, 4 seed Francis Howell. This is a team, once again, they've been right there. They made it to the Final Four a few years ago, and they've got some great young talent, some great guard play, a couple nice bigs. So that's going to be interesting. But then you look, St. Mary's is an 8 seed. Whitfield, who I had a chance to watch over at Webster Groves a couple weeks ago, they're a 6 seed. So this tournament is going to be a tournament that could get wild from the word go. It will not surprise me if we don't see the seeds hold, because there's so many great teams that are in this tournament. And that's why the Don Maurer tournament. And once again, I love that they changed the name. Named it after the former AD, who did so many great things in MICDS. Then went to Misha, did so many great things at the Misha office, and he's still there. Now that he's moved back to St. Louis, he's up to the tournament nearly every day. Visits with me and Earl when me and Earl are the 2 old men from the Muppets that sit in the corner of the gym at our table. But it's just and the other part about that too is we talk about the Park Hills environment. The semifinals at MICDS are so terrific, but the biggest piece of it is, for folks that don't know this, in between the 2 semifinal games, all the proceeds go to Special Olympics, and they bring the West County Special Olympic kids into play in between the semifinals.
That's awesome.
All four teams, the 2 that just played and the 2 that are going to play next, they literally will come out, sit down in each corner of the gym, and cheer these kids on. And I had a chance to see it early, at the Norm Stewart, with kids giving back to their communities, and to see these kids, just sitting there and cheering for these Special Olympic kids, and the high fives and the pictures and all that kind of stuff. That is the coolest thing that I get a chance to see during all the holiday tournaments. And it's so much fun to watch that. And I know the Special Olympic kids absolutely They circle the date. They circle the date that we get a chance to play in front of the most people we're ever going to get a chance to play with, and they have so much fun. And
so
so
cool.
it's really terrific that they get to do that, because once again, back in the day, Chris, me and you, we didn't have these opportunities to give back to the community when we played in, when I first broke into coaching back in Ohio. But now to see so many opportunities for our kids to give back and understand that there's more to life than just basketball. There's a lot more, and getting it's letting the kids see that, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. That is so awesome. I'll be honest. I wish I wasn't playing in a tournament so I could just see that one time personally and just soaking in. I think that's so cool because it's just bigger than the game itself and everything else that's going on.
Yeah,
let's go ahead. Go ahead.
No, they and the cool, the other part about it is that when I'm able to make it up there for the semis, they give me a wireless mic and I just run up and down the court with the kids doing some play-by-play, being the hype man, so to say. But once again, for me, it's something I look forward to every year, because I get a chance to interact with those kids. And once again, it's all about just soaking it up, soaking it in, and just realizing that there's a lot more important things out there than just basketball.
100%. That's so cool. I can't get over that. That's so cool. I didn't even know they did that. All right, we gotta move on. Let's go to the coaches versus cancer tournament at Maryville. Again, another just solid tournament that, like you said with the last one. I mean, you could definitely see some lower seeds that might make some hay here. So Jim, let's talk about this one.
Yeah, first off, they move up to Maryville, which I think was a terrific move. Lafayette's been great partners with Coaches versus Cancer and the American Cancer Society for many years. But the folks wanted to get it back to a college court. They did it up at Lindenwood for a little bit, but they wanted to get back on a college court. A little bit of a little bit better facility. And so now that they're able to do that, it's really cool, because there's 3 tournaments now within 5 miles of each other. So that makes it a lot of fun to figure out what you're doing, how you're doing it. But, DeSmet's the number 1 seed. Justin Duff has been playing terrific for them. Kent's got a good young team, but he's also got some senior leaders. And the way they're playing right now, they're going to be a team that I think you've got to slide in as the favorite in the MCC. But there'll be a lot of games that we're going to talk about throughout the year that they're going to be a part of. Columbia Hickman coming in. Hickman has got a really good team. I had a chance to see them against Chaminade over at the Norm Stewart this past Saturday. And Chaminade just got out to a hot start and, was able to do some things that they like to do, and that speed the game up. But, Hickman's just got a great team. And they got a nice big by the name of Camp inside that a lot of people better keep their eyes on. He's only a sophomore, and he's really, really talented. You've got a Parkway West team in that tournament that started out to get, very good. You've got Webster Groves, defending Class 5 state champs. Yeah, you look at their record, it's not the best record, but look at who they've played and how they've played. And you've got to, Justin's running a bunch of youngsters out, but to get BJ Lang back, his point guard, that's going to kind of stable things down. You got the Purvey brothers, who are really, really good inside. They've got a nice in-out game. So you can't count Webster out in this thing. But yeah, once again, you look at some of the lower seeds. This is a tournament where, once again, you could see a lower seed spring a first round upset and move over to the right side of the bracket.
Yeah, and I tell you, you mentioned Webster. They're probably the best 1-5, 1-6 team in the state. And it just goes with, talk about playing a schedule that's top notch. They play a top notch schedule. They are playing a lot of younger kids. They've had some guys out, and now when you start getting everybody back, you're going to see it come together. So I look for Webster to definitely be changing that record pretty soon. And then again, this is an opportunity for them to get in there and make a big splash as far as putting themselves back in a position where people are giving them the respect that's due. And DeSmet's such a good team right now. I mean, they're playing well, and they beat some good competition as well. And if they can get to the finals I think Hickman's going to come out on the other side of it. That's just my opinion because I know what kind of talent they've had coming through there throughout the years, and I know that they got a really good team this year.
Well, and I love what Cray Logan's doing with them. I mean, he took over the program 3 years ago. I think that was not good.
Yeah.
They were kind of, they're out of the four teams in the Columbia area. They were the weakest of the three. But what Cray's done, and once again, buying into the program, doing the things that we know that we can be successful with, and I think he's doing it. And they've won the CMAC now the last 2 years. And I really think that they're going to win it again this year. And they're a really solid team. They won the Troy tournament a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I DeSmet Hickman final. My gosh, would that be a fun one to watch? I mean, without a
Oh
doubt,
yeah.
the two sets of guards going after each other, and then the bigs, down underneath. That would be a lot of fun. But once again, it's such a deep tournament, and it's so evenly balanced. You just don't know who's gonna sneak up and get somebody, and especially like I said, I think we may see a couple first round upsets.
I agree too. And you might pencil these teams in, but there's a lot of teams that they might jump in there, and if they're playing better, they get a couple kids back, it could definitely change the field really quick. Well, we haven't talked about the ladies yet, so we're going to talk about the ladies to finish up here, Jim. And I think this is probably, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best tournaments I have ever seen as far as just who's in it and how good these teams are. So we're going to talk about the Visitation tournament. And man, I mean, they've already played the first round games, 16 teams, and it is freaking stacked. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. Jim, why don't you talk about it?
I sat in that seed meeting a couple Saturdays ago, and I know all those coaches really well, and James Allsup, the head coach at Eureka, he flat out says when he's talking about his team, because basically what they'll do is they'll go around the room, talk about their team, talk about where they think they should be seated, and he just flat out said, I don't know how we're going to seed this thing. I have no idea because it is so deep and it is so good. And so, Paul Steckland cuts everybody loose and says, okay, write down to your seeds, hand me the sheet of paper. And a couple coaches just look at me like, what do I do? And I'm just like, I wouldn't want to seed this thing because it is so deep. I mean, there was only one given going in, and that's Incarnate was the number one seed. 73 straight now. They came off of 3 terrific wins out in Hawaii. Natalie Potts is just, I mean, she should be the Metro Player of the Year this year. She's going to Nebraska next year. Dan's just got them playing extremely well at a high level. So you knew they were going to get the 1 seed. You kind of figured that Burroughs was going to get the 2 seed, the Class 4 defending state champs. And when you got a kid like Allie Turner that can shoot the ball from any part of the zip code that you're in playing in that night, you're going to get some great things. Plus, they got Witherspoon as well. Then you look at Eureka as the 3 seed. James has got 5 kids that are playing college sports, but not basketball. That just shows the sheer athleticism of this team. And, they got off to a little bit of a bumpy start, but they lose the Burroughs. They lost a tough one to Hickman. I mean, they're just loaded. And then you got Pattonville team that brought everybody back from last year. And for them, first time in the tournament, they get the 4 seed. That was pretty impressive with their resume as well. But yeah, after the weekend, all the seats held, which kind of expected. I was so happy that John Sheridan and his Viz crew could finally get on the right side of the bracket for the first time in many years and get a nice victory over Live for Life. So it's just, this tournament is deep. The quarterfinals are going to be terrific on Monday night. When you talk about a Incarnate Ritter matchup, when you talk about a Pattonville Civic Memorial matchup, I know Coach Blair and his Illinois side of things, we better mention that or we won't hear the end of it. But what Mike Allshot's done over at Civic has been terrific. So yeah, I mean, that tournament is as loaded as it's been for many years. 2 defending state champs, bunch of teams that made it to district finals. So, Monday night is going to be terrific, and it'll be a packed house. Believe me when I tell you, it's just a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, and since we already had the first round games played, and as we have the graphics up, there was only one top seed that didn't move over, and that was Gateway Legacy, who took over for Whitfield girls who had to drop out. But and so Parkway South, they're going to be taking on Burroughs. I kind of look at it like I think Burroughs is going to be playing in the semis. The Eureka Visitation matchup, I think, is a pretty intriguing one. And I think the Incarnate Word Ritter game, I'm kind of wanting to see what Ritter looks like playing against the best team in the nation.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just to kind of get an idea of where they're going to be, because they're going to turn around and when they get into their district play in the state tournament, I mean, they're going to be a proven team in their class, and I look to see what they're going to be able to do. So I'm kind of curious to see how they match up with Incarnate and what they're able to do and what they're not able to do, if that makes sense.
well, yeah, and you look at that district; they're
Yeah.
not the favorite in their district. That's the thing. Vashon,
Yeah.
you got Vashon Ritter, and then and I'll be the homer here. Rosati Kane's in that district, and you know what Todd's been doing. They just came out, one down in Springfield at the 48 hours, and then they rip off 3 great wins over at the Liberty tournament. So I mean that district is loaded between those three. And watching Vashon play out of coaches or out at the Norm this past weekend, John's got those kids playing well. I'm really curious to see the same thing, what Ritter is all about. New coach, new program, and it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think a lot of people want to see that. A lot of people want to see how good this Ritter team really truly is.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That I mean, we all kind of say that Incarnate's probably the favorite here, but the one thing that's tough, and I know this from some coaching buddies who coach down in Southwest Missouri and coach girls basketball, and they were talking about Stratford and just the
Yeah.
pressure every single night to keep that streak going. It's insane. Now I know that the competition that the Incarnate's playing is totally different than say playing a class 2, class 3 schedule, because they're playing all over the country. They're playing all these major programs all over. But I'm kind of curious to see how things are going to keep going, and then when the pressure finally does get to them.
Yeah, without a doubt. But you know what though? This is a team year in and year out. You bring freshmen in and they know what the expectation is. Your seniors set the tone for the freshmen, that play for Incarnate Word. Everybody knows what the expectation is. Everybody knows the type of schedule you're going to play. And I don't want to take anything away from what, Steve Frank did down at Stratford, with Haley and all that stuff. But if Incarnate can get that streak, which I think if they get this year, I think they can get to it. But the strength of schedule, Incarnates would be a little bit more impressive. And once again, I'm not taking anything away from those kids. But it's just the strength of schedule that Dan puts those kids through every year. Whether it's playing down in Florida, whether it's going to Arizona, whether it's going to Hawaii like they did this year, just to play some of the top teams. They play in the Webster tournament every January. That's one of the top 8 team tournaments in the state. So these kids are prepared. They're mentally prepared. They know what they're getting themselves into. And looking at Class 6, I don't think there's anybody that could stop them in Class 6. In the state of Missouri,
so.
They're that good. Yeah, they're that good. They're that talented. But once again, they're going to run a gauntlet at Viz. The next 3 games for them are going to be extremely tough. When you go with the Ritter team, then you most likely will have to play a Pattonville team, and then you would think you're going to get Burroughs or Eureka, and that'll be a telltale sign on how good this Incarnate team really is this year as they head into January and conference play in the MLOC.
Yeah, and it again, talk about it, just the amount of talent all in one place. You talk about these great tournaments that are 5 miles apart. If you're a basketball fan, this is your Christmas, because this is what you want to see. You want to be able to go to these games, and if you can't make it, a lot of them have great streaming options. And we're in the works of trying to figure out if we can set up and be a part of a visitation tournament championship night with the third place and the first place games. That's in the works. So hopefully that all pans out, and Jim, you're able to see and call that one.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm hoping we can pull that off. Once again, if you're a basketball junkie, yeah, I mean, okay, Christmas is on Sunday. For me, my Christmas is Monday, because there's just so many great tournaments, so many great things. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to catch my breath here for a couple days, and then, get after it next week and go watch some great tournaments, because that's what it's all about, is seeing these kids perform and have a blast.
Yeah. And again, it's memories that they're going to make and experiences they're going to have for the rest of their life. Even us, we're going to go over to the Raleigh tournament. It's a tough tournament for a school our size. We are the smallest school, but our kids love it. We get to stay in the hotels, and they think it's a blast. It's like a field trip away from home and everything, and probably have some Madden tournaments or something going on in their rooms. They just have a blast, and I love it. And I'm sure every other team that's down there, they do the same thing. So it's a great time of the year. I enjoy it. I know everybody who's a basketball fan enjoys it, and I just can't wait to see how it all shakes out.
No doubt about it. And it's going to be a lot of fun to follow you guys down at Rolla, and follow all the tournaments, and, just get a chance to get around and once again, see some folks that I don't get a chance to see during the regular season very often, get to see some teams that I don't get a chance to see very often during the regular season. So that's what makes it a lot of fun for me, is I get to see some good friends that I don't get a chance to see very often.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Jim, it's been another fun show, and a lot of hoops to talk about, and we're going to have a lot more to talk about whenever we get back from all this. But appreciate your time and doing this, and hope you have a Merry Christmas, Jim.
I hope you guys have a terrific holiday. We want to thank everybody for, putting up with us and tuning in and just having fun with us, between this show and between the Coach's Box. I mean, we want to shed the spotlight on great kids. We want to do it for free. We want to make sure that we highlight these kids because they deserve it. And we want to wish everybody just a terrific holiday season. And, not sure if we'll be able to do a show next week because of travel and all the games going on. But when we get back the first week of January, we'll get after, and we'll have some great review stuff, and we'll dig into some great conference battles that we're going to see, especially down in the JCAA, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I 100% agree, and hope you're right. Well, Jim, again, thank you for hanging out with me and spending some time with me talking some hoops. Thank you guys all for tuning in to another episode of On the Move with the Caravan Sports Preview Show with Jim Powers. I'm Chris Miller. You guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Tune in for new episodes of Coach's Box each week on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, or the Streamline Sports app. And you can also listen to our show on Apple Podcasts, Google, and Spotify. This episode of On the Move with the Caravan is brought to you by Off the Rails Media. Life's more fun when you're off the rails.